I always believed that after 10 years of marriage, surprises became fewer, routines stronger, and the element of mystery slowly faded. My husband, Brian, was a kind and grounded man, stable, reliable, always on schedule, and never the spontaneous type. That was just who he was, and I had grown to love the certainty he brought into my life. But nothing could have prepared me for the day he and his friends shattered every expectation I had about our marriage and completely changed the way I saw everything. It was a Saturday morning, crisp and cool, with golden rays streaming in through our bedroom curtains. I stretched out under the comforter, expecting to find Brian next to me, only to realize the bed was already cold on his side. Odd. He wasn't usually an early riser on weekends. The scent of freshly brewed coffee drifted into the room, but it didn't mask the nagging suspicion in my chest. Something felt different. I wrapped my robe around me and padded down the hallway. The kitchen was empty, the coffee pot full. A folded note rested on the counter with my name on it. Amanda, take a deep breath. Follow the clues. Love, B. That was it. No explanation. Just those words, as cryptic as they were intriguing. My first instinct was to laugh, maybe even roll my eyes. Brian didn't do games. He was the man who once bought me the same necklace for our anniversary 2 years in a row. So what was this? A clue? A game? I turned the paper over. Nothing. Just the note. But then I noticed the envelope beneath it, and inside it was a Polaroid picture of our first apartment, specifically the little community garden behind the building. Scribbled in pen on the photo was, "Where we planted our first tomato." It hit me like a memory I didn't know I'd missed. That tiny patch of dirt behind our first home. I hadn't thought about it in years. Was I really about to go there? Was this part of some elaborate anniversary plan? Our anniversary wasn't for another 3 months, but maybe Brian was getting a head start. I quickly got dressed, my curiosity outweighing my hesitation. When I reached the community garden, it was quiet except for the rustle of leaves in the breeze. Then I saw it, another Polaroid, pinned to a small wooden stake in the soil, right where our tomato plant had once been. This photo was of a picnic blanket laid out near a lake, the very lake where Brian had proposed to me. Written below it, where I asked the biggest question of my life. Suddenly, it all started to make sense. Brian was taking me on a journey through our past, our memories, our love. My heart warmed with every step, every place he made me revisit. At the lake, I found another clue, this time leading me to the diner where we had our first date. The waitress greeted me with a smile and handed me a napkin. On it was a simple message, "Last stop. Meet me at the cabin." The cabin was an old rental tucked away in the woods, a place we used to visit every fall with Brian's friends, Chase, Derek, and Malcolm. It had been years since our last trip together, life and schedules pulling everyone in different directions. As I pulled up the gravel driveway, I spotted Brian's truck. The cabin door stood slightly open, letting out the scent of cinnamon and cedar. Inside, candles lit the room with a soft glow. Brian stood in the center, smiling that same smile he had when he first kissed me on our wedding day. But what took me by surprise was that Chase, Derek, and Malcolm were there too. The atmosphere wasn't loud or chaotic like I remembered from our younger days. It was calm, warm, and strangely emotional. Brian stepped forward and took my hands. "Amanda," he began, "I know I haven't always been the most expressive person. You've put up with my routines, my silence, my inability to always show you how much you mean to me. But these guys here, they've known me since college. They've seen me at my best and worst. And I asked them to help me remind us of everything we've built together." Chase handed me a small leather journal. It had my name engraved on it. Inside were handwritten letters, not just from Brian but also from his friends. Stories, memories, the silly things we all did on our trips, and heartfelt notes about what our love had inspired in them over the years. I sat on the edge of the couch and began reading, feeling overwhelmed by the care and thought behind each word. One letter from Derek stood out. "Amanda, watching you two grow from a young couple to the solid, beautiful bond you have today has made me believe that real love doesn't just exist in movies. It's in everyday moments, in shared silence, in little kindnesses. You showed us that." Tears welled in my eyes. Brian knelt before me again and pulled out a velvet box. But instead of a ring, it was a new key. "I bought this place," he said softly. "For us. For the future. For more memories. I want it to be where we grow old, where our kids bring their kids, where we come to feel grounded when the world spins too fast." The fire crackled behind us. I was speechless, not because of the gift itself but because of the depth of thought that went into every part of the day. Brian had always been reliable, but today he had been extraordinary. He reminded me that even the quietest hearts can surprise you with the loudest love. We spent the evening laughing, sharing wine, and reliving memories with his friends. They cooked dinner together, badly, I might add, but it didn't matter. The night felt like magic. At one point, Chase raised his glass and said, "To Amanda, for reminding Brian of what matters most." In the days that followed, things were different. Not just with Brian, but with me. That mysterious surprise unlocked something I hadn't realized I was missing, a sense of being truly seen, cherished in a way that didn't require flowers or grand vacations. It reminded me that sometimes love doesn't fade with time, it just changes form, waiting patiently for a moment to reignite. Brian and I started visiting the cabin every month. We invited our friends, made new traditions, and built a garden out back just like the one we'd started in our first apartment. Each time we stayed, we added a photo to a wall in the living room, a timeline of our story, marked by little moments that together made up something so much greater than we ever imagined. One snowy December evening, I watched Brian stack firewood outside while the kids napped inside the cabin. I smiled, thinking about the day he surprised me, the moment everything changed. It wasn't a single gesture, or even the mystery itself. It was the realization that love, when nurtured with intention, continues to grow in ways we never expect. And that sometimes, it's the quiet, reliable ones who hold the greatest capacity for surprise. Years from now, when we're both older and the kids have children of their own, I'll take out that leather journal and reread the letters. I'll remember the day that seemed ordinary but turned into the most extraordinary chapter of our lives. And I'll remind myself that even when you think you know everything about the person you love, there's always room for one more surprise.